We got shirts on sale. Express your evolution and starter Pokemon love by buying an Evolution Family shirt and Which One starter shirt. Link will be in the description below. The main series Pokemon games. I love all these games so much. Pokemon has played such a big role in my life, and I have loved it ever since I was 4 years old in 1998. No matter how much I like or dislike a Pokemon game, it's still Pokemon, and I appreciate what they have given us over the years. I have played all the Pokemon games, some more than others at that. While I do like all the Pokemon games to a degree, there are obviously some ones I appreciate more than others, and some not so much. Granted, I don't hate these games in particular, they are just my least favorites of the bunch because, like I said earlier, I do enjoy all the Pokemon games to some degree, because I mean, hey, it's Pokemon and I love it. With that being said though, today, I wanted to take all of my favorite and least favorite games and rank them from worst to best, essentially counting down my favorites. How I will be ranking these come from nostalgia, mechanics they introduced, some specific Pokemon native to that region, and a bunch of other stuff. The games in the list will also be in a set. For example, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl will be together, but Platinum will be separated because even though the games are kind of the same, there are some major differences between the sets and the third games. If your favorite game doesn't happen to be my favorite game, don't complain about it in the comments. Be courteous to other people and their opinions. Regardless though, I hope you guys enjoy my opinions, and let's begin. So at the very bottom of the list, we have the OG games in this series being Pokemon Red and Blue. Now, by no means do I actually hate these games. They're just my least favorite of the bunch. They weren't my first game, so I don't really have any sentimental attachment to them. They give them a high ranking. I'm sure at the time when they were first released, they were fantastic, maybe even revolutionary. But trying to play them now, or even 15 years ago, is really a drag. There are just so many errors and glitches that can really make the games unenjoyable. A couple of the famous ones you might know of are Psychic being immune to ghost type attacks rather than being weak to them, and Focus Energy quartering your critical hit ratio rather than quadrupling. Now, there were some fun glitches too, like the Missigno glitch. Missigno has to be the most famous of any glitch in Pokemon, and honestly I think Game Freak should eventually turn it into its own Pokemon, or at least make a Pokemon inspired by it. But aside from that, I just don't have too many positives with these games. The Pokemon aren't my favorite, and they're just super slow and grindy, more so than in any other Pokemon game in my opinion. Again, I get it, they were the first ones in the series, so naturally, later games would fix many of these issues, so I can't blame them for that. But at the end of the day, I would still rather play any other game than Pokemon Red and Blue. Right after Pokemon Red and Blue comes Pokemon Yellow. This is pretty much Pokemon Red and Blue, except Pikachu following behind you and having access to all the starters. I will admit though, as a kid I really liked this game because I could pretend I was Ash Ketchum. I was his exact team as well. But nowadays it just isn't as appealing to me anymore. I'd rather play Let's Go. Man, I'm gonna get slammed down here, holy cow. Next up is Pokemon X and Y. Now first, let me list out the positive aspects of Pokemon X and Y. I love the replay value of it and the fact it felt like a breath of fresh air to me playing Pokemon again. This was the generation where Pokemon was first introduced to a handheld device in 3D. Seeing all the new Pokemon appear in 3D was super dope. Mega Evolutions are also some of the coolest mechanics Pokemon added. Those are only the good features the games brought though. If we're talking about the games themselves, I thought it had a subpar plot, a horrible evil team, a psychotic team leader. Zygarde literally is irrelevant now, and the rivals are as stale as my expired tortilla chips in the cupboard. The post-game for this was also super stale. I mean, don't get me wrong, Friend Safari is awesome, but is that it? Also, the Looker missions I found boring, I couldn't get into them. I think Looker is a wash-up character, sorry. But yeah, that's why X and Y are on this position of the list. Yeah, another set of Kanto games towards the bottom of the list. I think you guys can see a pattern here. I'm just not a huge fan of Kanto. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, however, are some of the better Kanto games for sure though. I actually had a lot of fun with them, despite the fact that I don't care for Kanto at all. Unless we're talking about a different set of games, which I'll be talking about later. The partner Pikachu and Eevee are really adorable and are fun to play with. They give you gifts every once in a while and just have the most adorable reactions to you when you pet them. And regardless of the silly names, all the exclusive moves they can learn are actually pretty cool, especially Eevee's. Also, them being the replacement for all the HMs was actually a really nice touch. I definitely will admit that. We also have other great features like Pokemon in the overworld, as well as following and rideable Pokemon. And while we're probably not seeing the return of following Pokemon in Sword and Shield, it's definitely amazing that we're getting overworld Pokemon back in combination with random encounters. Everyone is getting what they want in that regard. I have to mention the customization options as well because of this Umbreon outfit. Honestly, it made the entire game for me. So yeah, overall the Let's Go games are a watered down version of a core Pokemon game, but they're still a decent experience. And I can honestly say I'm looking forward to what they will do in the inevitable Let's Go Johto games. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl are up next. Now before you burn me alive, Snow people, let me tell you I appreciate Pokemon Platinum more than I do Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and I will get into that later on. The Sinnoh series had some really cool Pokemon introduced, for example Roserade, and the soundtracks for these games were freaking awesome. The major aspects that made me really dislike Pokemon Diamond and Pearl though, is the surf speed and the lack of fire Pokemon I got to use. Infernape is the best fire Pokemon you can get, and I agree, Infernape is the best starter for Sinnoh, and also my favorite one. But if I were to pick the Piplup line, or Turtwig line, which, you know, I'm gypped of what fire Pokemon I can use, especially because a lot of them were only available in Pokemon Platinum. These two features are what really drives me up the walls about Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Everything just felt so slow and there was a lack of Pokemon I wish I could have used. Okay, I know most of you will probably want to burn me at the stake for putting Pokemon Sun and Moon above Diamond and Pearl, but hear me out before you call me stupid. Yes, there are quite a few problems I have with the Alola games. I'll agree that cutscenes should have been skippable. Ultra Beasts are kinda weird, and Lucimene's character arc of being absolutely crazy aren't really my favorite things in Generation 7. But there are so many great things about Alola that people often overlook. I would know because I was one of them for a while. Overall, I'd say Pokemon in the Alola region are fairly well designed, and underappreciated due to the constant hate spewed towards that region. The Decidueye line, Vikavolt, Salandit, Drampa, Tapu Lele, and the list just goes on. There are just so many awesome Pokemon, and honestly the ratio of good to bad is probably one of the highest of any Pokemon game. We also have other great concepts like regional variants, evolving legendaries, and super powerful boss Pokemon like Totems and Ultra Necrozma. It might be unpopular as well, but I personally think Z moves are actually pretty neat. An ultimate finishing move like how you could see in an anime for every Pokemon, that's pretty cool if you ask me. Especially Muse. God, this move is so majestic looking. Oh, I mentioned this in a few weeks ago in my protagonist video, but I really love the main characters' names, Elio and Selene, both based on the Greek deities of the sun and moon. That's such a cool origin. Also, need I mention that this was the first region they finally got rid of HMs for all of us? Yeah, there's a lot to love from Pokemon Sun and Moon. They may not be my favorite games, but they certainly aren't the horrible games that everyone makes them out to be. Coming up right after some of the most hated Pokemon games of the moment are some of the previously hated Pokemon games being Black and White. Even though I used to be in the same camp of people that hated the likes of Vanillix and Garbodor, I've since lightened up and have actually grown to like them a lot. In addition to that, there are actually other really amazing Pokemon in this region. Sigilith, Maractus, and Gigalith are a few that come to mind. So that gets rid of the whole Game Freak or running out of ideas narrative. These games also created a unique experience in that we could only use Pokemon native to Unova, which just made it feel like a fresh start for Pokemon, and it was really fun. But more than all of that, I have to talk about the story. These games had such great characters, and the plot with N and seeing how it changes over the course of the game was just fantastic. Even though Team Plasma ended up just being your classic evil team in the end, they actually did bring up a legitimate moral dilemma of if it was truly okay to keep Pokemon in the way we do or not. Just because they said it for nefarious reasons doesn't mean that it wasn't actually a good question. In fact, I still believe it's something interesting to think about. The remakes of the original Hoenn games are masterpieces in their own right. I remember playing these games for the first time and I got to see one of my favorite regions remastered on 3D. A lot of new features were added, such as soaring and being able to access certain places using this ability. Primal evolutions were given to both Kyogre and Groudon, and we got to see Rayquaza have one of the coolest Mega Evolutions ever created. Wally was also reintroduced and we got to see musical Lade. The soundtrack was really remastered and everything. ORAS brought a lot of great things to the Pokemon table, and in my opinion, they are amazing remakes. The best part about ORAS though are May and Brendan having more personality. They actually journey with you across Hoenn, and you get to see what they're actually like as trainers more in depth than last time. Also, the post game was very good. The Delta episode was easily one of the best Pokemon games we've ever gotten. Now, while I do appreciate all these features ORAS gave us, I still prefer the originals more simply because of nostalgia, which I will get into in a bit. So earlier I said Pokemon Platinum was much better than Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and that is 100% fact. We got improved speed for surfing, walking, and running. The game ran a lot smoother. We got another new awesome dimension being the Distortion World, and the best part is we got more Pokemon to choose from. In Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, you're limited to Pokemon you could pick, whereas in Pokemon Platinum, we have a lot more to pick from, especially with fire Pokemon. In Pokemon Platinum, we also got our own private villa, and I remember customizing my house with some pretty cool stuff. That was definitely one of the coolest features about Pokemon Platinum, along with the Distortion World. Just allowing me to dip into the ridiculous aspect of being able to walk upside down was truly a treat and a rare amazing feat, if I do say so myself. The whole dimension is just so wacky, and one of the main reasons why I appreciate Pokemon Platinum so much. Oh god, it happened again. An Alola game above a Sinnoh game. Yeah, you're all gonna be mad at me, but I feel my reasons are actually justified. These games fixed a lot of the problems I personally had with the original games. Namely, the fact that Lucimene calmed down a bit. It also made Hal a more interesting rival, as he was just kinda useless in the original games. Even though I'm still not really a big fan of him in general, but he's better in these games. Add in that Ultra Necrozma fight, harder battles, and the ability to own Totem Pokemon, there were just so many cool additions to this game that just bumped them up higher. I also have to admit something. I haven't beaten Rainbow Rocket yet either. I've heard that it's a really good segment in the post game, and it would probably have put these games higher on the list if I actually had played this far into the games. I'll get around to it eventually though, I swear. Man, there appears to be a pattern going on here because the Unova sequels are above the Alola games. Black and White 2 were just so strange. Everyone was expecting Pokemon Gray, but no, we got full-blown sequels, and they're amazing. We get to see how the lives of our old friends changed, Neo Team Plasma being much cooler than the OG Plasma, better protagonist, a fantastic rival that just wants his sister's Purloin back, and so many more new features, like the expanded Pokedex. I know I praised the Unova exclusive decks for the original games, however doing that twice in a row would have been annoying, so I'm really glad that they didn't do that. Overall, these games were a worthwhile expansion to the Unova region. It makes me sad that we might not see their story played out when it comes time for Unova remakes. Who knows though, maybe Game Freak will surprise us. So I mentioned earlier, I wasn't a big fan of Kanto. Well, Fire Red and Leaf Green are the exception. One of the best reasons is because of the Sevii Islands and being able to hear the Johto soundtracks like Lake of Rage on a Game Boy Advance. I will be blunt, I would have loved to see a Pokemon Crystal game put on the Game Boy Advance. I found that those games would have just been so much more awesome on the Game Boy Advance rather than the DS, although I still like the remix a lot. I mean, I like Fire Red and Leaf Green more than just for the soundtrack stuff, so don't worry about that. There's just something about them. The soundtrack just sounds much better on the Game Boy Advance. Like, I can appreciate the 8-bit sound a lot in these games. The best part that Fire Red introduced though was the VS Seeker. This is the best item in a Pokemon game, hands down. It makes grinding 10 times easier. It's not even funny. I only have to spend half an hour grinding versus an hour and a half, and it's such a nice feature to have, especially in Nuzlocke. Fire Red is mainly here because of nostalgia though, I will admit. Another game here, because of nostalgia, is Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. I have a lot of history of these games, let me tell you guys. I used to play these games with my friends all the time. We would trade, battle, go to secret bases, and even have Pokemon tournaments. The tag battle feature was also one of the coolest features introduced. You could team up with a friend and have a double battle. Like, man, Ruby and Sapphire brought a lot of really awesome features to the table for us. Now, double battles are also the primary format of competitive Pokemon battling. Ruby and Sapphire also has one of the best soundtracks and Pokemon of all time. The evil teams are also super cool looking, especially Team Aqua looking like pirates. Another nostalgia trip for me, that's for sure. So I'm a huge Johto fan, as I'm sure a lot of you guys know by now, and I love Heart Gold and Soul Silver. This game brought back my favorite region, the great soundtrack, and my favorite Pokemon following behind me. What blew my mind about the remix was seeing the scene of Lugia or Ho-Oh soaring down from the sky when it came time to face them in battle. What a cool cinematic. They really used the DS's power for that scene. Yeah, Black and White looked better, but who cares? I thought it looked really good the first time I saw it. I loved the overall Johto experience and better graphics. Silver also got more character development, and finding out he was Giovanni's son blew my mind, which, fun fact, I actually didn't learn about that until 2014. Not to mention, all of the Team Rocket executives got their own names, being Proton, Petrel, Ariana, and Archer. There's also the theory that Ariana is Silver's mother, and I can actually see that being true. I love the remakes, just not as much as the originals, but I love everything Johto. That's why they're so high up on this list. Coming into my second favorite Pokemon game of all time, we got Pokemon Emerald. Pokemon Emerald holds a near and dear place in my heart. I mean, for God's sakes, in the summer of 2005, I had over 350 hours racked in, and probably more. I can't remember, but I know it was a lot. I would just used to sit there and grind up all my Pokemon to level 100, and would still battle all my friends. Going into the actual gameplay, I loved it. I love the green aesthetics of both May and Brendan in these games. I love the fact that Rayquaza was the mascot of these games. Seeing Rayquaza come down from the clouds to stop Groudon and Kyogre fighting was one of the most god-tier scenes in all of Pokemon, without a doubt. That scene was just so cool to watch as a kid, and even till now, I still get goosebumps seeing it. The best part about Pokemon Emerald, though, was hands down the Battle Frontier. I spent hours in there as a kid, but due to me thinking I was good at Pokemon when I actually wasn't, I never won a single symbol. I really want to play through Emerald again and attempt to win some of those symbols. These are the greatest Pokemon games in existence. Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. I know I said I was going to separate third games, but because I like the three of them equally, I couldn't decide which ones I liked better. Pokemon Silver was the first game I ever got from my grandma when I was around 6 years old, and the reason I hold Johto so close to me is because of her. The other reasons are just because of pure nostalgia. The soundtrack, me soloing the games with my level 100 Typhlosion. There's also Umbreon and Chikorita, my two favorite Pokemon of all time in the games. Getting Umbreon the first time in Pokemon Silver was one of the best moments of my Pokemon experience because I was never allowed to have my Game Boy at nighttime. I literally had to sneak it off just to evolve it. I also love the fact I could go to Kanto, because I didn't know I could go to Kanto for the longest time, and then my childhood friend had told me, and I freaked out knowing that there was still more to do in these games. And I know I said that I didn't like Kanto much before, but being able to go after a Johto playthrough is a lot more refreshing than just a regular old playthrough. Me and these games have a lot of nostalgia. I can go on for hours. Something funny that happened to me too was I was in kindergarten, and I was playing Pokemon Gold in the playground, and trying to find my way out of Union Cave. The teacher actually took the Game Boy from me and I cried. It was really, really sad. Playing the Johto games was probably the best part of my childhood, if I can be completely honest though. Everything about these games was just A1. You could do everything in these games, go from region to region, re-battle trainers on the Pokegear, and riding the magnet train makes you feel so cool. Well, I'm done talking about why these games are great. I think you guys get it by now. So this is pretty preliminary, but what we've seen for Pokemon Sword and Shield is looking pretty nice. I love the wild area with the controllable camera, the new Pokemon designs we've seen so far, and just the overall aesthetics. I'm not really sold on Dynamax just yet, but if there's something about it that can really shake the game up significantly, then you may have my attention. I think this is also a good time to throw my opinion on the National Dex situation. At first, I was really annoyed and upset, like many other people are. But honestly, I kind of understand where Game Freak is coming from, and it really shouldn't be getting the explosive hate that it's getting. I do get why people would be upset, and trust me, I still am. And hopefully they can reverse the decision in the future with patches. But to say the games are going to be terrible just because you can't play with your level 100 Blaziken that you've had since you were a kid is silly to me. And then before you talk about the Scorbling double kick animation, take a look at the Brave Bird animation from Corviknight before you start typing. One badly animated move doesn't speak for the entire game. They're mostly going to be pretty solid games, so just calm down for now and see what happens. I'm pretty optimistic and I think you all should be too. Well, that pretty much wraps up my rankings of all the Pokemon games. Pokemon games will always have a near and dear spot in my heart, and will continue to be for many years to come. I am excited to see what other cool projects Game Freak has up their sleeve next. Those are my rankings though. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below, as well as your favorite Pokemon game. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on, that way you never miss an upload. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch where I stream a lot of Pokemon content and Nintendo content like shiny hunting, showdown battles, Explorers of Sky, Zelda, Fire Emblem, Smash Bros, Borderlands, you name it, I play it. Want to support me further in Game Club perks? Check out my Patreon. Daniel Leone, Lady Crimson, Pal491, The Lazy Leo, Matthew Young, Awesome Lego, Jarrett Weezosted, and Sodden Grider did, and I want to thank them personally for going above and beyond. It means the world to me. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mr. Gumbrian, and I will see you in the future for more awesome Pokemon content.